Today I'm signing an executive order to protect and uphold the free speech and rights of the American people. Currently, social media giants like Twitter receive an unprecedented liability shield based on the theory that they're a neutral platform, which they are not an editor with a viewpoint. My executive order calls for new regulations under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act to make it that social media companies that engage in censoring or any political conduct will not be able to keep their liability shield. That's a big deal. They have a shield. They can do what they want. They have a shield. They're not going to have that shield. My executive order further instructs the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, to prohibit social media companies from engaging in any deceptive acts or practices affecting commerce. This authority resides in Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission.
See, this is the thing that I believe is absolutely criminal. Can't even reply to the second highest position in the United States, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, when he's talking about killing cartel members who poison our fellow citizens is the highest and best use of our military. And I can't reply to him to point out that the pharmaceutical industrial cartel is doing the majority of that poisoning with a couple little videos. I have a full signal, so it should send perfectly fine. The two videos are less than 2 minutes. Yet they suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Just like in Romans chapter 1, verse 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Failed to send post. What do you know? Suppression of the truth. It's absolutely criminal. So that their elite billionaire friends in the pharmaceutical industries, the real cartels, can continue to profit off of your sickness and death.
When I was growing up, a lot of the moms were taking like oxycodone or OxyContin or something like this. Was a big thing, OxyContin. Remember, there was a big thing in the 90s,
right.
Early 2000s. There's a really great miniseries on Netflix. It's called Painkillers. Really explains the opioid crisis and the OxyContin era. And it talks about the Sackler family. And there was a recent settlement or something, wasn't there, with the Sackler family? Yes, $7.4 billion settlement with Purdue Pharma, Sackler family. Yeah, none of them ended up in jail. Right? I don't know how many people actually died, got addicted, went on to harder drugs like heroin and maybe are on fentanyl now or died from fentanyl or whatever. But it's a big thing. And they made
suicides.
Suicides. They made billions of dollars from that over the course of 20 years. The interesting thing is, and I was looking this up when I was covering this on my show, is that within 1 year, the COVID vaccine, Big Pharma made more off the COVID vaccine in 1 year than the Sackler family did off of OxyContin in 20 years.
Yep.
So, they offer you fentanyl at the hospital, OxyContin, oxycodone, hydrocodone, whatever.
No, I can put it.
Yeah, go ahead. What does it say? The Sackler family? Read
the
it.
Sackler family, owners of Purdue Pharma, are of Jewish descent.
No.
Wow. Arthur, Mortimer, Raymond Sackler, the key family members involved with Purdue Pharma, were the children of Jewish immigrants from Galicia, a region historically part of Eastern Europe.
Yeah, they don't put that in the Netflix series.
Right.
Were behind the invention and creation
of these COVID vaccines that are going to save humanity now. The Moderna vaccine. Okay, the Moderna vaccine, the chief medical officer in charge of research and development, the person who was in charge of putting it all together is the Israeli scientist Tal Zaks. Pfizer. Who's the CEO of Pfizer? In other words, the person who heads the company. Albert Bourla, who is a Greek Jew. And then, who is the chief scientist? Chief scientist is Mikael Dolsten, a Jew from Sweden. Both COVID vaccines that are now going to rescue humanity, both were created by Jews.
59 years old, in good health. I'm not working in the front line. So my type is not recommended to get vaccination. My type is not recommended to get vaccination.
COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin, their body temperature. Like we walked in here, we had to go through a body temperature test. But exactly the same technology can determine what you think about the government. You know, anger is a biological phenomena just like disease. With this kind of surveillance, I mean, you watch a big president, a big leader, gives a speech on television. The television could be monitoring you and knowing whether you're angry or not, just by analyzing the cues, the biological cues coming from your body. Maybe even right now, the people who are watching us are being watched and analyzed. Are you angry about what you hear? Are you frightened? Are you bored? This is the kind of power that Stalin didn't have. You know, when Stalin gave a speech, everybody, of course, clapped their hands and smiled. Now, how do you know what they really think about Stalin? It's very difficult. You can't have a KGB agent following everybody all the time. Even if you do it, he's just watching your outside behavior. He doesn't really know what's happening in your mind. But in 10 years, the future Stalins of the 21st century, they could be watching the minds, the brains of all the population all the time, and also they will have the computing power to analyze all that.
In the global fight against COVID-19, the Jewish people, who make up a tiny percentage of the world's population, have had an outsized impact in the difficult battle to protect lives as scientists, chief medical officers, and top healthcare officials. Yet the contributions of one extraordinary person tower above the rest. That extraordinary person is Pfizer Chairman and CEO Dr. Albert Bourla. Dr. Bourla led his team to deliver a COVID-19 vaccine in record time, while taking a risk by declining U.S. federal funding to avoid government bureaucracy and expedite vaccine production. A child of Holocaust survivors from a Greek Jewish community destroyed by the Nazis, he's proud of his Jewish heritage, is active in Holocaust remembrance and education, and a strong supporter of Israel, which was the first country outside the U.S. to receive the Pfizer vaccine and the antiviral pill. The pandemic is certainly not over, but the world is infinitely better off with Dr. Bourla helping lead the charge to save lives, with more than 2.5 billion Pfizer vaccine doses already distributed. Because of Dr. Bourla's extraordinary contribution to humanity as the world battles the worst health crisis in 100 years, Dr. Albert Bourla has been selected as the recipient of the 2022 Genesis Prize, the Jewish Nobel Prize. Thank you, and congratulations, Dr. Bourla.
These conspiracy theories have turned out to be true. Which ones?
The Trump-Russia witch hunt, Jeffrey Epstein, JFK assassination, the misuse of the Patriot Act, the Iraq War, the weapons of mass destruction, the war in Ukraine, the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline, the open border migration caravans, the climate change scam, chemtrails, and HARP, and 9/11 being an inside job, and the Internet of Things surveillance grid, and PFAs, and chemicals in the water turning everyone gay, and the 2020 election being stolen, and January 6th being filled with undercover feds, and Bilderberg, and Bohemian Grove, and global government, not to mention gain-of-function research, and the threat of China, and collapsing birth rates, and defund the police, and George Soros, and mail-in ballots, and big tech censorship, and disinformation agencies, and Obama's birth certificate, and probably some others I can't think of. I mean, so a few of them. I guess a couple of them have been true.